Good evening. Welcome to my channel. My name is David Okun. I've been talking about the cost of living and also spoken about different perspectives on the cost of living. I've been looking at different elements as being causes. The main one, in my opinion, the cost of living is caused by the economic system of capitalism and also the crisis is actually triggered ultimately by the war in Ukraine when it changed the condition of demand and supply of energy uh, uh, around the globe, especially in Europe, in Britain, the UK, and other parts of the world. And also other factors contributing to the cost of living has been um, Brexit in the UK, but the recent one of COVID-19, which actually puts the cost of living up, and a combination of factors, ultimately the war in Ukraine, has triggered the crisis. The cost of living. When we talk about the cost of living now as a topic, we are actually talk about the crisis. We are not talk about anything else. The cost of living has always been there as a part of life. People just may not realize it. If you go into the shop to buy food, if you go to the shop to buy medicine, if you go in wherever you go to buy energy, or if you are a supply of energy, electricity, gas, or any other source of energy into your property, where it doesn't matter how you pay for it. Maybe you pay bills, maybe you put fuel into your car, and or yeah, you pay for transportation. Whenever you have to pay for an essential, that is actually a feature of the cost of living, because you are actually required by necessity to spend whatever money you have or you don't have. In this case, poor people having limited access to resources, including money, suffering the cost of living is a crisis more than anyone else. Probably the richer you are, the more likely you are not going to face the cost of living. Now, the status of capitalism has failed to distribute wealth, to produce equality of access to wealth and other opportunities. In as much as the same system having been really beneficial in producing wealth there at for the few and not the many. And this has been my discussion. If you watch my other videos, you will find that I've discussed this background. And because my intention to continue with this conversation with regard to the cost of living is long term, and for me, the more people understand the cost of living in a wider point of view, the more independent they're going to actually assess and also do further studies. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please subscribe to the channel, support the channel, view the watch the videos, and share with family and friends. And I've already said it before that if there is a problem, you are best to be an expert on such a problem. If the cost of living is important to you because it is affecting you more than other people, or it's affecting you, and or it may not be affecting you at all, but it's impacting on your community, your family, your society. If you are actually interested in humanity, the cultural aspect of life, then you can actually play your role to try and address the problem of the cost of living. And I've been saying this over and again. Some people may like it or not, but this is what I've chosen to do. Is part of this process. I'll be speaking about other things in the future, but for the moment, I'll be sticking with the cost of living, and I'll be looking at different perspectives. I've been looking at militarism, because militarism relates to the war in Ukraine as being the cause of living. As simple as that. Also been lucky to bump onto some information about the forces who have been fighting in Ukraine. I elected to discuss this group, particularly to illustrate a few points, one of them being that capitalism is about privatization, and Russia is a capitalist state. That's the conclusion I've drawn because the military force I'm talking about is called the Wagner Group. Which actually, if you watch the other videos, I've discussed them already. I'm continuing to talk about the Wagner Group, which is some people think they're a terrorist group. Leave a comment below if you think they're a terrorist group. There are claims that they are part of the Russian government because the Russians actually fund it, finance it, and also some people say it's a private army belonging to President Putin of Russia. If you think Putin owns a private army, leave a comment below. And the discussion is out there, and you can visit online, internet. You can also probably look within the YouTube economy itself. I'm sure you'll find discussion on the Wagner Group. I first found out about the Wagner Group at the BBC here in London, in the UK. If you visit BBC Parliament, if you actually Google the YouTube, you might, if you can get BBC Parliament on YouTube as a channel, maybe via the BBC itself or Sky or any of the media outlets. As long you're going to find discussion in Parliament involving the Wagner Group. They're called the Wagner Group, but they're spelled as WAGNER Group. It's a private company, and it's operating in Ukraine now. It's actually been fighting in different theaters of war involving Russia. The Wagner Group is actually fighting on the far side of Russia. And for me, the significance is to actually support the view that what we have with capitalism is now privatization. We are privatizing the state. If the military can be privatized, this is we have the growth of the mercenaries in America, in the Western world, and around the world, actually, within the Middle East, in Israel. There are, I don't know which break out the details, but you will find out if you want the discussion further. Leave a comment below, and I may do research and do research on mercenaries, which are actually private military in the developed country. They are composed of elite forces, such as seen with the Wagner Group in Russia, and they are a really fierce fighter. The Wagner Group in Russia are actually over 50,000 men strong. They are actually a select group of the military. They can overthrow a country. If they are as trained as the Marines in America or even the whatever they are, these are actually funded by the state, even in America or other parts of the world. These private armies are actually funded by the state because they are part and parcel of national security and global security as well. Because in as much as countries provide for its security, the world has become globalized. And what is of interest to America as a nation is of interest to the rest of the world. What is of interest in the Russia and Ukraine is also of interest to the rest of the world, such as seen with the incident of the cost of living. So we looked at different aspects of the Wagner Group. I'm going to try and my best to concentrate on the Wagner Group as much as I can relate to the cost of living. And the purpose, as I said, is that it's important to be informed about the issues involving the cost of living. Cost of living is a symptom of globalization. It's a symptom of capitalism. And the Wagner Group in Russia, the private army in Russia, are said to be recruiting from different sources. I've already mentioned other sources they are quite random in their operations, and they work in secrecy. They're like most they're like most mercenaries because they try to actually avoid controversy. The idea of private militarism is very controversial at the moment. It's something the state is doing in all over the world actually, but they don't want people to know very much about it. They don't really want the idea that the government is actually financing a private military system. But like I said, while dealing with capitalism, I said capitalism is about selling the state to private individuals. So I see it under capitalism that in the future we will have a country or countries or continents or the globe, so to speak, where everything is actually owned privately, including the law, the legal system, the security system, the police, prison, the military. I already said that before. That's why I'm doing a follow up on this as a case study almost, but it's not going to be in a formal way. I'm going to do it as informally as I can, so that people can really be conversational about it. And if you want to leave a comment below, leave a comment below. So there are allegations, including recruitment of individuals from prisons. Now, if you include people from prison, you know that if somebody is in prison, their rights are limited, and that is kind of something people concerned with human rights can look at. And they found this material claiming that the Wagner Group are actually recruiting people um, from prison, the recruitment of prison inmates into the forces, and there will be commentaries on the condition of these inmates. And I'll be looking through the material to the best of my ability. So if you pay attention, we can do it over and again, or we can look at other material and look at it. And as we go along, and this material I'm looking at is saying that in the early July, the Russian news outlet iStories reported that the Wagner Group had been recruiting into St. Petersburg prisons. So these prisons are in St. Petersburg, and the information says the Wagner Group has been recruiting since July this year. July can be last year because now we are in the early months of the year. In February 2023, this should be speaking of 2022, where it is actually reported that there's a media company called iStories. If you know anything about iStories, leave a comment below. Like I said, I want this approach to be more conversational. I don't know how I'm going to do that, but I'll try my best because this is actually a monologue. I'm the one speaking, and there's a predicted hope that you will also be participating in one way or the other. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you think about the background. If you think it is okay, then let me know. I wouldn't say it is cool. Potentially has potential. Just using it for the second time today. I used it yesterday and today because I try to record as much as I can. Every day I try to record something. And so we going back to this material to look at it and see what it is trying to say about recruiting from prison in Russia by the Wagner Group. The Wagner Group being a private military of Russia, and Russia controlled. There are over 50,000 men. Maybe there are also women, but normally they are men. Most people who fight are actually men, incidentally. And the Wagner started in 2014. For those who might miss the previous video, if you watch the previous video, we covered that. And the recruiters told inmates that they would be sent to the Donbas region, and that almost nobody will return. So the Donbas region was actually a war in I think in Ukraine. It's leave a comment below because I've got the information. I don't really remember it. We'll find out and probably confirm it in the next video. We don't edit. We are not editing this video, so what I record is what I actually post. The inmates were offered 200,000 rubles and an amnesty for 6 months of voluntary service, or 5 million for their relatives if they died. So in other words, they were offered a payment of 200 rubles. For I assume that from this information, I think 200 rubles is per annum, or as a fix for a contract. It's not clear from this information, but leave a comment below if you have heard of the Wagner Group before. And the money, ruble is a Russian currency, and you can translate it to dollar to make a sense. If you have access to exchange rate, you can find that out online. And also an amnesty for 6 months of voluntary service. They have a choice to take the money, and also, which means the money and amnesty for 6 months of voluntary service. I don't know what amnesty means, but like I don't know, amnesty from being prisons. I mean, they don't have to be in prison. They can volunteer to serve for 6 months, and the amnesty, I think, is from the prison, and or 5 million for their relatives if they die. So if these prisoners died in the war, Wagner Group, the Wagner military outfit, has promised that they're going to give them 5 million. I think 5 million should be rubles. It doesn't say here, but I assume it is rubles. Ruble is a Russian currency, national currency for Russia. And let me know if you know anything about rubles, or anything we don't really know beyond it being a Russian currency. So if they died in war, their relatives are going to be paid 5 million, I think, rubles. I think that is a really good offer for a prisoner. And I don't know the detail. According to relatives of the inmates, the contracts were not recorded anywhere, and the inmates would be sent to the war without their passports. So if these prisoners are sent without passports, so they cannot be identified publicly, and the contracts cannot be found by relatives. I don't know the detail. Probably some of them, the inmates, died, and when the information arose that they were going to, the compensation and whatever, I mean, if you haven't written the contract, then probably you can't see it. Subsequently, the UK Ministry of Defense stated in an independent intelligence report that Russia was maybe considering recruiting prisoners into the Wagner group. So the UK intelligence were already suspicious of the Wagner group recruiting inmates into the military. The following months, Mediazona reported that he had received messages from the Russian prison inmates alleging that Yevgeny Prigozhin was personally recruiting them to fight in Ukraine. So as you can see, somebody called Mediazona. Leave a comment below if you know who Mediazona are. It's a media company, the way I look at it. So this was actually in March. In August, because the alleged recruitment took place in July, and the following month, Mediazona reported that he had received messages from Russian prison inmates alleging that Yevgen Prigozhin was personally recruiting them to fight in Ukraine. Now, Yevgeny Prigozhin is one of the leaders, actually the principal leaders of the Wagner group. If you watch the previous video, according to the two inmates from Rybinsk and Plavsk, Prigozhin promised inmate a pardon and a salary of 100 rubles per month and a bonus of roughly similar sum or 5 million rubles for an honorable death. Honorable death is probably self-explanatory. You die for your country, and that sounds familiar to me because wars fought. This is a motivating factor for soldiers, military personnel, fighting for something greater in life than themselves, fighting for their countries. These are actually, I would say, war propaganda, really, because leave a comment below if you think fighting is honorable. Yes, it is. You fight for your country. You fight for your country is a good thing. And war is necessary. This may be contradicting for those who watch my previous video. War is necessary. Because if you also watch my previous video, although I said war is a short-term solution to social and human problem. Because the reason I say that you can't keep fighting forever. The war should end somewhere. Because, the more we fight, the more we're going to get into more trouble, killing one another, destroying one another. There's something I decided to call the cultural economy, something everybody knows about, which is actual respect. Respecting yourself, respecting other people, and making sure that, if you respect somebody, making sure you teach yourself respect. Because that's the only way you can do it. If you learn anything, you actually make a decision to change the way you think and train yourself how to be respectful. And is one man at a progressive time, and we have to start somewhere now. Otherwise, we're going to get in more trouble. Because capitalism is about rule. It's about individuals ruling over one another. Those in power, the few, are ruling over the many. And if somebody rules over you, you're a slave. Normally we know ourselves as citizens of our countries, and we fight for it, rightly so. But the moment you are actually under a rule, under a jurisdiction, you either, I don't know if you're willingly doing that. There are people who can say they can ask certain individual rule over us. It's not unknown in history, in contemporary time, that people actually ask individual rule over us when in trouble. Leaders rule over us, because if you don't rule over us, we are going to be in trouble. And these people are actually with visions, with courage, with wisdom, with understanding, will actually rule over people, lead them. And leadership and rule is quite similar, actually probably the same thing. Because you cannot be a leader if you are not given power with which to rule. So there are people who will voluntarily appoint somebody, but it's not straightforward, because people get into trouble as a community, as a society. They are under the dire straits, and they choose leaders for themselves, lead us and provide direction for us. And these people are actually important, because you are supposed to survive. And that's why we have wars. War is a survival strategy. Everybody who pick up guns and bombs to go into a battlefield is going to survive, to provide for his survival and for his family and for his country. So the motivation there is actually nationalism or globalism, as we now know. Globalism is the opposite of nationalism. You give up your nationality to embrace your globalization. As I discussed this concept also in the previous videos. If you are kind enough to do that, if you have the time, watch the videos are actually recorded under capitalism. I'm going to try. I keep saying this. I'm going to keep trying to organize them so that the ones recorded under capitalism can be grouped together so that people can actually access it quickly. So subscribe for my channel. Subscribe to my channel and support it. We want more subscribers so that we gain visibility. The more visible, the more we can be found by those who are actually looking for information and for support or whatever they were looking for on the YouTube channel. So I'll be reminding people gently to subscribe to my channel and share with people who know you, the people you network with, family and friends. And if you do that, then you'll be supporting this channel to grow, because I want it to grow and I want it to be seen. I want feedback so that we improve. I am beginning to value even feedback. I've always valued feedback, especially positive feedback, because they can be life changing. I mean, feedback is extremely important. Don't a lot of people who do not want to, especially if they know something negative, they just don't want to kind of like. A lot of people phone me who knows me. People who know me actually phone me to give feedback. I know a lot of people hesitate to give negative feedback. The way to give negative feedback is actually be constructive and helpful. Identify what you see as being wrong and suggest solutions. If you don't have solution, just identify what you think is wrong with how you feel about it and what you think about it. And then that gives me an opportunity to pay attention to these things. And because of positive feedback and not so positive feedback, so far I've been developing a lot of awareness. Some people have been unhelpful, also rude. But when I started this channel, I expected that at the outset. I'm not saying it's easy to deal with negative feedback if you are new, especially if you're a new program like me. But it serves to actually mature me as an operator, because this is something I've done for the first time. And the more I do it, the more experience. You know, if you want to gain experience, you have to do it and learn on the job. I have other experience of doing other things. I'm an advisor, legal advisor by profession. And so a lot of the things I talk about is actually things I do at my work, line of work. So I know what I'm talking about. And when I talk of research, I'm actually I'm a skillful researcher. I do research. I don't know if I can call myself a researcher, but if you do research every day at work, if I don't do a research in a day, I won't be able to do the work. That day will be counted as work and done. So I do research every day. So now, in doing this program, I've actually been doing research. Research, you know what information to look and why, and where to look, and how to look, how to compile, how to actually use the information. And I find that this exercise has been helping me. It's been challenging, but also helping me at work more, because it's similar. When I'm doing presentation this way, it's similar to actually giving advice at work, because I phone my clients and interview them and take record and give them, identify the problem and provide solutions, specific solutions, and where I need to double check, because the law keeps changing every day. Policy-backed law, actually generated law in terms of the social policy keep changing almost every day. So if you knew something yesterday, you have to check today again. So I got my work cut out as an advisor. And so with this material, this is complementary to my work, and my work is also complementary to this, because this is also my project. I enjoy doing it, but it's so challenging. And every time I produce a video and people really give me positive feedback, it's really good. The good news is that most people who give me feedback are people who have known me for many years. Some of them are very frank. They say, you're doing well, but you can do better, which is nice. I think there's only one way to do things better. Actually, make an effort and focus and be consistent, and that's what I'm trying to do. So many things suddenly to be done. It's not just sitting here and talking. It is also being organized. I have to I mean, even if I don't really move one thing, nothing happens. So that is really it's really good, and I'm really grateful for viewers who have been making effort to actually be part of this process. And for me, it's very personal. When I find somebody subscribing to my channel, it's really very personal. I feel really grateful. We are still slow, and we have been about 6 weeks in operation. And we are doing, in the scheme of things, we are not doing very badly, but we could have done better. And it's a case of waiting to see what happens. And so maybe that was a commercial break, if you want to call it, because it was actually not talking about the topic. But sometimes it's nice to kind of talk and relax your head, rather than being pushing searching ahead and getting on with it, which is also nice. And we are actually 30 minutes. I try to time myself as well, but sometimes I try not to pay too much attention on timing. If you haven't subscribed for this channel, subscribe. I keep on saying this because I know I have to. People think of many things. I mean, people have their lives to live, and they forget. I mean, a lot of people who actually say to me, "Oh, we are going to subscribe to your channel," they haven't, because these are people I know, I've known for so many years. I forgot, and blah 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 blah. So, and it's a case of being patient and of building this relationship. And really, what is most important for me is really learning new things in the process of doing research. You learn so many things. I've never heard of the Wagner Group before. I only bump onto them on the on watching the BBC Parliament, on the media, and really discovering that there's a private army in Russia. I've always heard of the mercenaries. Mercenary is a generic term. It applies. I could actually say that the Wagner Group is a mercenary force. Mercenary simply means a private military owned by private individuals. Normally, people who have a lot of power, who have military experience, and who have a lot of money, are the owners of this private security infrastructure, which are actually composed of the elite forces. It's a phenomenon now, very common, nationally and locally, and the growth of the private security system, also close protection services, things like that. And we have also the elements of cybersecurity in growth, and very interesting, very exciting. And this is actually part of it. And how it relates to the cost of living is that it has actually they have been at the core of the operations in Ukraine. And in looking at it, actually, it drew our attention to the fact that this war operating in Ukraine is responsible for the cost of living as a crisis. Is the cause in a significant way. So, this information says there are approximately between 300 and 350 prison inmates signed up to fight in Ukraine by this point. So currently, that's the figure. This information is saying that's the figure in Ukraine. They are fighting in Ukraine between 300. And remember, these are actually composed of mostly elite forces. Highly trained commandos. They are highly trained commandos, and like I said, I keep losing this information, so it just disorientates me. So yeah, in a prison recruitment speech video, published on the 14th of September, Prigozhin said that prisoners have been participating in the invasion of Ukraine since the 1st of July. So it is confirmed, this report actually confirmed that Prigozhin, who is the principal leader of the Wagner Group, has been has confirmed that um, from the 14th of September, the prisoners have been participating in the invasion of Ukraine since the 1st of July. And so these are some of the information, and I've already spoken about the Wagner Group in the other videos. If I find it of interest, I can keep talking about them. In other aspect, the more information I find, probably the more I will do a video to talk about the Wagner Group, because they are private military. They are very interesting because they actually show that capitalism is a privatizing force, and it's also evidence that Russia is a capitalist country. Even Russia is a capitalist country, and we probably don't even know it. That means that, and also because I look at the history of capitalism in this process, I look at the capitalism, try to view these videos, but I said there that looking at the overall evidence, I discovered that there has never been any other system since the dawn of rule in the world. It has always been capitalism because it has been owned by powerful individual people who are actually with wealth, with money, with a lot of resources. People who are actually very, very warlike. They are really, really violent. And don't think that the system of government is created peacefully. No, it is not. It is created through war and a lot of violence in history. Whatever history, whichever part of the world you are, you will discover the fact. This is actually discoverable. Just look at the history of war. If you come back to me and say, warfare is very peaceful, then I will just bless you and say, well done. But in fact, warfare is very, very brutal. And people who have been in war will tell you that it's very brutal. So many people die. A lot of destruction is incurred. And that is what has been creating capitalism. And that is what maintains capitalism. That is what will actually maintain capitalism. The war is not, we haven't been seeing war yet. As human societies, we haven't seen war yet. That's why I've been talking about a broader aspect of solution of the cost of living. It's called cultural economy. People should learn to have respect for themselves and for others. And the moment somebody, look at your life. What kind of friend is going to respect a friend and abuse that friend? If you have a friend who is always abusing you, you probably don't have a proper friend. Just, leave them. Find somebody else who respects you. Somebody respecting you, they can abuse you because they are weak, because they are uneducated. We are so uneducated, we make mistakes. But there are limits. If you're having a relationship, personal relationship, professional, family, and somebody keeps abusing you, they're fighting you. They have no respect for you. And that is actually cultural failure, lack of education. Such individuals are uneducated. So, Ukrainian soldiers and former convict prisoners of war instead describe the use of recruited convicts as disposable. Now, I don't know what that means. I don't know what that statement means, because Ukrainian soldiers and former convicts prisoners of war instead describe the use of recruited convicts as disposable. I don't understand. I don't know who wrote this article, but I can only guess that statement to mean that there's evidence that convicts, recruited convicts into the military of the Wagner, are Ukrainian soldiers and former convict prisoners of war instead describe the use of recruited convicts as disposable. Now, if you recruit a convict, um, I mean, if I mean, if you recruit, I mean, what do you talk about? I mean, you're probably saying that soldiers are disposable. If something is disposable, it means you use them and discard them and throw them away. Is yeah, they are not of any worth. They have no values. You see, um, probably that's actually how these prisoners and also those recruits, anybody recruited in a military, especially a military format such as the Wagner, probably this is most likely that these soldiers are not valued as humans. They are seen as property of the organization, which are actually disposable. You can throw them away when you don't need it. I mean, they are worthless afterward. I mean, you're only useful. They are useful only if they're only useful if you are. They are still, they're needed. Which also, incidentally, is the behavior of capitalism. In the industry, in the civil industry, we'll talk about the military industry, but under normal condition of capitalism, civil industrial relations also resemble what is actually shown here among the Ukrainian or the Russian soldiering within the private military outfit, where there's no disrespect. There is respect for the forces, of the military or the of the industry, as in the workforce is seen, where employers, in their nature, when they no longer need you, they just get rid of you. And the function of the state, as we saw under social capitalism, was actually to provide an element of morality to kind of reduce the impact of capitalism. Capitalism is so brutal. Is actually the way, if you are to actually operate capitalism the way we are now beginning to operate, seen under in the UK here under conservatism, where there is also there's now an extremist version of capitalism being unleashed in here in the UK and also in the globe. If it is done, which it is being done, then you are going to really see a lot of really bad things happening to people who are actually outside the ambit of the ruling class. And the only way you're going to be treated well when you are really, really needed, maybe you're a technician, maybe the rulers believe that you are actually indispensable, then they will show you some modicum of respect. In the alternate, if you are just an ordinary, cheap laboring individual, once you are not needed, you are going to be discarded. This is actually as a disposable product. You're worthless. If you're disposable, then you are worthless as a human being, as an entity. And this is the attitude of capitalism, which is now actually showing within this Wagner group in Russia, but it's a similar situation across the globe. In Africa, life is now seen as something you can just get rid of if you don't need it. If it's a problem, you just get rid of them. And this is a problem we need to really pay attention to. I'm going to stop this video here and hopefully see you in the next one. Subscribe for my channel if you haven't subscribed. Support the program by sharing, by subscribing, leaving a comment, and clicking the notification bell so that as soon as a new video comes, I don't have to share it with you anymore. Now I'm trying to share my video with people who I think will be able to support me. But the more people come and click a notification bell, I don't have to do that anymore because every time a video is uploaded, they are actually notified, and then they come and view it. They support the program. Thank you for watching. Thank you. Bye bye.